All right, guys, a quick tutorial on how to do the graphing for the progress check unit 5. So here's the data that is laid out in the question right there, but I do not have the plus or minus values in here. So I'm actually going to show you how not to do it the first time and then show you how to do it correctly the second time. So I'm going to take this data here. So I got my temperature and I've got my two columns of data here. So the percentage of females, and I'm going to insert a chart for that. I actually want this to be a bar chart. Okay, so that's pretty good. So remember what we're looking at here is we're looking at bars that represent the amount of females that fell within plus or minus 2 standard deviations of the average. So when we see 0.5, that means that half of the females at 23 degrees fell within plus or minus 2 standard deviations from the average. But we're also supposed to put error bars in there so we can see how good this data is. So if I was going to do that on this graph, I would go to series and I go to error bars. But the problem is it makes all the error bars the same size. Right now the value is at 10. I actually want this to be at a constant, but the value is 10. So if I wanted to change that, because the first error bar should be 0.08, if I wanted to change that, there, I'll change it here, 0.08. What that does is it changes all of my error bars to 0.08, but we know they're not all 0.08. There's 0.02, 0.07. So this method doesn't work. So here's what we actually have to do. The graph is going to end up looking like this. We got the same colors, same size bars and everything, and I'm not sure why they're so skinny. I couldn't make them look like bars, but here's what I had to do. It looks really different. So I still have all my temperatures set up down the side, but I also had to put the temperatures across the top. And where each temperature intersects, so 23 and 23, that's 0.05. So that comes from here. At 23 degrees, 0.5. Okay, at 24 degrees is 0.5. 25 degrees is 0.5. So 0.5 at 24, 0.5 at 25, etc. So what this does when I graph this is it makes it so that each data point is its own series. So if we look at the, let's see, I want to look at the series. How many series are in here? So setup. Look at all of these series, right? All of those, each individual data point is its own series. If I go back to the way that we did it the first time, let's look at the setup here. Look at, there's only 2 series. There's 1 series for each color. We actually have to make a series for each data point, and that's the difference here. And what that allows us to do is when we go to customize and we go to series, this is where I can actually change the error bars, or I can make an error bar specific for each data point. So instead of applying to all series, if I go to just apply to 23, which is 23 degrees, see, look at, I put my error bar of 0.08 in there. And I already did these, I already pre-did it. So if I go to my next series, 24, the error bar was 0.02. So it's a different error bar. Now when I look at my graph, see, there's my error bar of 0.08. So it's plus 0.08 up and minus 0.08 down. This bar here is 0.02 up and 0.02 down, and each one has its own error bar. It's really difficult and time consuming to set this up on a spreadsheet. It can be done, it's just annoying. And there's no way you would do this on the AP exam. So really, you should be doing this one by hand, which would look kind of like this, except I screwed up on this bar here. This should be way down here. But it's the same idea. So that bar's at 0.50. My error, my standard error is 0.08 up and 0.08 down. And I would do that for each one of these bars. So that's 20 different error bars But the next question wants you to compare the error bars at 24, 32, and 36 degrees and see if there's any statistical significance between those. So let's look at this at the correct one here. So if we look at 24 degrees, well, there's no statistical significance here because there's not even a blue bar. So what we're looking for is overlap of these error bars. So let's look at the next one. What did it say? It said 32 degrees. So if we look at 32 degrees, these error bars don't overlap. So these are statistically different. So there is a difference between each group at 32 degrees. If we look at the other one, it wants you to compare 36. Well, the error bars don't even overlap at all. Or I'm sorry, they're completely overlapped. So there is no statistical difference between these two groups at 36 degrees. At 32 degrees, there's a large statistical difference. Look here, they didn't ask you to compare these, but at 33, they do overlap. So that means there is no statistical difference between the two groups at 33 degrees. There's no overlap here, so there is a statistical significance. There's a huge overlap here, so there's no statistical significance between the groups. That's how that works.